couple of questions on your background. So you said that you had to learn by yourself much of the things that you know about acting, directing, copywriting, yeah? But among these, what was the most useful thing that you've learned, or the thing that you've used the most of the times out of this?
So I didn't have to learn by myself. I just had the opportunity to do it.
Okay.
I did want to go to film school, couldn't afford it, moved on, but then I discovered the internet and YouTube, and I was just lucky enough to be able to educate myself through it. I am literally lucky enough to have been able to learn how to write a film by watching videos on YouTube. Mm-hmm. I would think that's the main achievement, because there's many people that can come up as directors by watching music videos or by watching sketches. I learned directing by creating over like 100 funny bits of sketches on our YouTube channel. But until 2 years ago, I never would have thought I would learn the structure of screenwriting just by watching, clips about Martin Scorsese or talks about made by writers.
So not getting into the theory of writing, but just by seeing others.
Bits of theory, yeah. Okay. Because educating yourself, let's say through YouTube, I think nowadays for the last 2 years it's become, let's say, more easier. But I did this like 10 years ago when I couldn't have access to, let's say, Skillshare. Mm-hmm. So it's up to you to fish for the information. I think like between the age of 16 and 20, I must have watched like 4,000 films arranged by, director or by actor or onto illegal DVDs. Mm-hmm. So let's say the most important thing that I never would have thought possible by self-schooling was to write. To write long format fiction, let's say. And by just watching and watching and watching and watching, if someone asked me right now to explain how to do it, I couldn't. But I can replicate it so good that it's like instinctual. By watching it so many times, it's become instinctual and like rules. But if you ask me right now to write down 3 rules,
developed the
muscle.
So some sort of a muscle on doing that. Okay.
The side effect is that I can no longer watch series or films. I just look at the structure and I'm just like, this is gonna happen. Mm-hmm. This is wrong. They didn't have money for this shot. So the writer invented this.
The lead. Now I see that more and more of the content gives you the chance to say what's gonna happen next. Probably it's in this trend that you're speaking about.
Yeah, I'm really bad at math, but somehow I have a mathematical way of looking at comedy or at content. But I cannot get my change back from the store. I cannot count it. But I have this mathematical vision of what's supposed to happen on film.
All right. Let's get even deeper in something that you said or touched in your talk. And you said something about the brands need to listen more. But what's here the challenge? Because this thing doesn't happen too often. So what's the main challenge when you put brands or you provoke brands to actually listen to their customers' needs? What's
I happen to work in advertising, in online advertising, and this is my main challenge every day. I'm not saying only brands should listen to people, I'm saying also people should do more listening and less talking about themselves. The major issue with brands not listening to people is fear of not being validated. They don't want to find out that people, let's say, love a brand, but they also have some negative thoughts about the brand. So they would rather just isolate it. It's like brands are basically a 16-year-old girl that is insecure about her looks. So she would rather not hear negative thoughts from her friends. And they're acting like this, like a little princess, let's say. Now,
is that stage overdue now, or when stage is
it's
gone?
Not overdue because the bigger the brand is, the more people are involved with their insecurities. And maybe one guy wants to be honest with the audience, but there's 17 other guys that, and this is, for example, in Romania, an English director said, this is a very Romanian thing. where by saying something is bad, you just feel like you worked today. It's like, hey, we cannot say that. Thank you, my work is done here. And do you have a solution? Would be the answer. And they'll be like, no, I just know what's wrong. I don't have a solution.
What not to do.
Yeah. Okay. I've done several, I'll do this again. I've done several successful campaigns in the last years, where the sole reason for their success was the fact that between me and the client, there were very few people involved. Mm-hmm. And it was up to the client to decide if he has the guts to be honest. And they all worked. Every time you could get the guy in charge to say, you know what, I know this is a bit risky. I know no one's been so honest before. I know we're making fun of ourselves, but I'll risk it. It really worked. Honesty is so rare in the online world, both from brands and from people, that whenever you're honest, it just goes up like this.
Okay.
It's not even about, oh, what a great execution or what a great message. People will share it just because finally someone is honest.
Communicating, okay, so chip in with that. We'll do the following round now. As we have the theme of metamorphosis, I want you to share us your biggest or most recent moment of change. When it happened, how was it, briefly? And then probably we can tell how can we help people to trigger changes that's gonna happen to them. So let's start with your change, your biggest change or your most recent change, like impactful change that happened to you. Describe it a bit.
I would say that my biggest recent realization that led me to change was in the past 2 years I've discovered that people don't really hate stuff. They might write online that they hate something, but they are way more tolerant than, let's say, social media leads us to believe. Being a YouTuber, you're always in competition with other channels and other YouTubers. Being a director, you're always in competition with other directors. Working in advertising, you're always in competition with other agencies. Okay. But the end user is so tolerant and so friendly that it just, once you realize it, it releases all of this pressure that you put onto yourself or that you let others put onto you, thinking it's a make it or break it, it's win or lose. If this isn't perfect, if this flower in this ad isn't perfect, it's dead. And users are very tolerant. They don't hate someone and love someone, people online. They just love and hate everybody in different levels. And we kind of forget this.
So is this just our perception about the fact that what we're going to do is going to be either loved or hated? And that's the fear that we have. And that's, I think, the online, something that you realize that it's not happening.
Online teaches us that, or leads us to believe that you're either good or bad in whatever you do. But the humans behind, let's say, the accounts that they have online, people are not good or bad. They're more like in various levels, more friendly or less friendly towards all of the subjects on this planet in various degrees. It's like in politics. You cannot be, let's say, left-wing or right-wing 100%. You're like 20% liberal and maybe 30% left-wing and maybe like 40% right-wing. You're not 100%, you're not an extremist.
It's like, let's see, what day is today? Wednesday, okay, so I'm left-wing now.
How am I feeling, how liberal am I feeling today?
Can we spot, or can we help people to spot, how can they see that change is right around the corner for them? What are some triggers that you have?
This is a problem I cannot spot if change is around the corner. Okay. I can spot trends online, like this year, hate is a trend. People mimicking in their, let's say, Facebook post, a type of speech that I think it must have started with an influencer somewhere that got a lot of traffic by having this long, opinionated post about someone that offended them in a store. And I think people started mimicking that, and I know for sure I have friends in my list that create content both on YouTube and on Facebook, trying to mimic that type of hate speech because they just want like 100 likes, like I was saying in my presentation.
So they would go with this wave and with this trend that gets them.
It's not. You can say it's a good thing. You can say it's a bad thing. You can say it's a good thing because they're not that hateful. it's a bad thing that they're using hate just to get some more traffic. But I think this is the biggest realization in the past 2 years. It's not as bad as it seems. And whenever people say, "Oh, I'm gonna find you and kill you," and they're not gonna do that. They're too lazy.
Speech.
It's just a hate speech, and they're just doing it not even because they're bad people. They're doing it because they want to be seen.
Okay, so watch out of what people are saying and they're speeching and what they're actually, capable of doing. Probably would be
try to watch out because you were saying earlier, how can you spot a change? I could go into, let's say, details about how can you spot trends in content, but that's not relevant. That's a very. I think anyone in any domain can, let's say, spot a trend that's happening. I think things are starting to change so fast that not even the best of us in any domain can figure out how something totally unrelated, let's say a change in the way we eat, is gonna influence technology and media and everything. You stay focused on your domain and you're looking for that change, but your domain might change because of a totally separate discovery happening in a totally separate field that puts you in front of this change. And I have an example that I was going to say on stage. I've been doing this for 11 years, and on the day I got my job, my first job as a video producer, I started. I was waiting at University Square, and the famous actor, television host, producer, Dragos walks up to me with a mic. He was doing this small show for Realitatea TV. And it was, I think, 2006, and he asked, "Hey, did you hear about these new things with smartphones that can take pictures? What do you think about that?" And you can probably find this online. That was my first job, my first day on the job at Sector 7, working in online content, and what I said was, "That's never gonna take off. Why are people gonna use phones to take pictures? Phones are for talking. That is the dumbest stuff I've ever heard."
People will use that against you.
1 hour later, I got a job creating internet pop culture. So even I could not, I was so convinced. I said it on camera, I said it on TV, never gonna work. These users filming themselves, never.
Won't ask you if you feel sorry for that, but let's try to wrap up this with you giving one word or just a couple of words that best describe how you feel about the world right now, or how do you feel that you are as a human being. So as we use for TEDx Bucharest year over year, one word that best describes the team. This is Metamorphosis this year, but what would you describe yourself, let's say, this year or this year and further, with one word or just a couple of words?
How I would describe myself?
Overwhelmed. Okay.
And I think the world is overwhelmed now. I'm a comedian, so I'm supposed to be depressed. Yes, I think the world is going to hell, but I love that.
Okay.
I have a little bit of an anarchist in me.
So
I'm gonna try and say something, let's say, positive.
Not just for the sake of it, but
I'm really trying to be positive. The saying, the end of the century. I think, they used it 100 and something years ago, this notion. I think we are entering an eternal end of the century. And this can be bad or it can be good. It can become very boring, the more technology simplifies life for us. It can become really fun if we just chill, but we're not chilling. With every minute of free time we gain per day because of technology, we use that minute to become scared and to have second thoughts and say, "Oh my God, what am I about? Am I happy?" You see, let's say 10,000 years ago, you didn't have time to be depressed because you were afraid of bears and you had to hunt. The more we add technology to our lives and it gives us free time, instead of using that free time to have fun, we use that free time to panic and to have negative thoughts and question ourselves. And I'm always critical with me first and then with everyone else. But even I know that sometimes you just gotta let it go. Just, dude, you're not gonna save the world. Stop worrying and just allow yourself to be stupid.
Okay, so think twice, watch out, but actually, move on to acting.
Allow yourself to be stupid, and you might be surprised of the outcome.
Cool. Any gut feeling impressions so far on the event, on what happened today? Just like very briefly to wrap up your interview.
Well, actually, yeah, I'm glad I didn't destroy it because I only got 3 hours of sleep, didn't get the time to rehearse my presentation. Didn't want to go into details. I actually forgot to look at the monitor with the slides on stage. And somehow I was stupid, but people loved it.
Okay.
So yeah, allow yourself to be stupid.
Thanks a lot, Alex.